Hey everybody, it's your buddy Ben coming back to you from Ben's Audio Cave. How y'all doing? Happy January. It's cold outside. Hey, and this one is going to air on my birthday today. So y'all can hit that super thanks and give me a birthday present. Just kidding, just kidding. I wouldn't ask that of you, but I will ask you this. If you will like, subscribe, get notified, do all that stuff, help me to keep making these videos. Would like to do that long term, so help me out just a little bit there. So in this episode, I'm not going to do anything technical or show any like real comparisons. I'm going to do something a little different on this one. I'm actually going to show you guys some of the new stuff I've gotten since the long hiatus I took. And then what I'm going to do is talk to you about two pieces of gear and compare and contrast, which is, and this is kind of like a review, if you will, power amplifier. One is a Emotiva Basx A300, which I lived with for about 4 or 5 years, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And the new is the Outlaw monoblock 2220 power amplifiers that I've gotten recently. So I can give some definitive, opinions on things. Now, I realize reviews like this are a little bit subjective. And on the channel, generally, I try to stay away from subjective things and go straight to, empirical evidence, things of such nature. However, I do think every now and again, you guys would like to hear a little bit of a subjective review of what I'm listening to, why I've chosen it, and, some of the things I've observed along the way. Now, the only ways you can really observe a power amplifier and the difference, other than pure specs, is to actually hear it, right? And honestly, I find some of you guys will say that there's little value in some of the comparisons I do direct from the preamp. I get that, but you think that's bad. If I were to try to take a couple of USB mics down here and let you hear what I'm hearing, I've tried that in the past. It just does not translate properly. So I'm going to skip all that. There's no way you're ever going to be able to hear timbre or any of that over a USB capsule mic played in a room, because you're going to be hearing the room's acoustics mostly. Now, some people will do amplifier dynos, talk about outputs and all that. The Outlaws have already been spec'd and put through their paces, so no need to really go into that. So without further ado, I'm going to flip the camera around and talk to you guys about some things that have changed. All right, here we go. So first things first, you guys have noticed I've got like some new shelves and stuff in here. I've been sitting in front of those for a minute, so I think those might not be that new. If you guys are noticing, I've actually moved my Polk XT20 bookshelves into this area, the main listing room. The reason why is I'm not getting, or haven't been getting, that much time to just like sit and listen anymore. Moreover, I will tell you, these Polks actually sound really good in here. I was surprised at how much bass that these little XT20s put out. They're actually a fine little 6.5-inch bookshelf speaker, and I've been tickled pink with them so far. I also moved in here the Audio Technica LP7, as I showed you guys earlier, and I have my Onkyo TX NR656 in here. Oh, and down here, that is not hooked up as of yet. There is an Emotiva Basx A300 that used to be in the main setup. So this is where I work all day. We all have to have a day job, and I'm a data center architect, so I spend a lot of time in here, and I moved my main system in here. Here's the Emotiva T2 towers you guys have seen, and here is the center stack. So here's what is new, is this Technics SL100C turntable is new. I showed that in the last video when we did the VTA adjustment and things of such nature. Going to be featuring this in a lot of upcoming videos with some gear that the Funk firm is sending me which is the isolation bubble kit. So make sure you definitely subscribe for that, because I will be showcasing before and after each one of the pieces, unboxing that, and doing some of those things. The next thing is, we just go on down the stack here, is this Parasound Phono preamplifier. Now I am going to include links in the description to all of these things, so if you guys would like to get some of these, it'd help me a lot if you check those out. Those are affiliate links, so just wanted to give you guys that disclaimer. This is one of the better phono preamplifiers I've had. I'll review this in an upcoming video. This little guy was actually pretty inexpensive on Parasound's website. I was really surprised. It does have, and I'll go into much deeper dive, but it does have balanced outputs. It has a really cool moving coil loading mechanism, etc., etc. There's my trusty rusty Emotiva Basx PT100 preamplifier. I've had that for a while. For now, that's not going anywhere. Now here is the little Weem Pro streamer. I actually love this little box. I've got it hooked up right now as a toss link to the DAC and the Emotiva. It's actually phenomenal. Gives me airplay here amongst lots of other things. Really cool little box. I'll talk about that a little bit too. I'll drop a link to that. Now here are my Outlaw model 2220s. These are the new apples in my eye. These are monoblock amps from Outlaw. They say each one of these push 300 each at 4 ohms, which my Emotiva speakers are. And I can attest to you that they do every bit of that and more. However, there are some things I want to talk about when it comes to these particular amplifiers. So first things first, let's talk about the amplifier that the Outlaws replaced. The Emotiva Basx A300. Now this guy it's served me pretty well. I've had it for about 5 years. It's rated at 300 by 2 at 4 ohms. I will tell you, it'll do it. How it does it is something we'll talk about here in just a minute. Now, just to show you a little bit of the internals of this, here's kind of what I call the gut shot. It does have, and I'm not taking this apart, it does have a substantial toroidal transformer right here, the input section, and then here is the output section of the amps and the power supply board, etc., etc. It's not a bad amplifier. It is only unbalanced input. It is triggered, so you can trigger it, which is the way that I use it with my stuff. And the status LEDs can be turned on and off. It's got 5-way binding posts on it, and not a bad amp, not a bad amp. So let's talk about why, and let me tell you something, this little sucker, it is heavy. So let's talk about why it got replaced real quick. So you say, Ben, why on earth would you replace this amplifier? What is wrong with this amplifier? This amplifier is great. This amplifier is awesome. Now, here's what I'll tell you. This amplifier was a smoking hot deal. I got this amplifier for $399 from the Emotiva factory. I drove down there to Franklin, Tennessee with my wife. It was a great trip, great day. One thing about these Basx A300s, and I think this has been remedied in the new Basx A2, is that they don't really have much of an internal protection circuit. Now, let me explain. So, we all know that speaker placement can be fairly key to a good sounding setup. I mean, it's the cheapest thing you can do to make your system sound better. Something doesn't sound right, pull your speakers out from the wall a little bit, scoot them back up, figure out, the wave that's on there, set your little triangle parameters up, toe them in, toe them out. You move your speakers around. That's what you do until you get the ideal placement in the room. So I was doing just that. Like a dummy, I had 5-way binding posts and banana jacks jabbed into the 5-way binding posts. And they were non-insulated banana jacks, and they were individual banana jacks, and they were gold-plated and all that good stuff. So long story short, I had my cables fairly cut to length, pulled my speaker forward, had the amplifier on, banana jacks touch, spark, poof, amplifier, done for. Bad day. Called up Emotiva, told them what had happened. I didn't be disingenuous. I told them straight up, I think I blew it up. I think I blew a channel up in it. I know it's under warranty. This is probably not going to be under warranty because I messed up. And they were like, send us your amp. We'll fix it. I'm like, I don't have my box. I have my boxes now. So the box was $25. They shipped me a box. I shipped them the amp. They kept it about a week. It came back to me. Poof. Awesome. Perfect. Listened to it for a few years. So the same channel, the left channel, that I blew in it that got replaced started to have some noise, like some static sounding. I mean, it sounds like somebody's dragging a small piece of wire across there. It could be capacitors, could be whatever. I've not had this amplifier replaced. It's going to be $159 flat fee to repair it. $399 amplifier, $159. I got to eat the shipping. I might do it, or I might not. Either way, amplifier served its purpose. It pushed a ton of power. I'm not going to give it that. I will say, however, my wife always said, and believe you me, she's got the better ears. I think my ears are good. She is a savant. She hears things in music. She hears harmony. She hears separation. She hears stuff I don't. And like I hear tone and engineering, and I got the good old-fashioned audiophile ear. I hear what we probably all hear. She hears real music. She hears stuff. So she always said there's something wrong with it. It just doesn't sound right. And I'm like, what do you mean? That's right as rain. So what she was trying to say was it was clinical. It was a little thin on the bottom. It was a little bright on the top. It was a little hollow sounding. These are all weird words to describe sound. But it always sounded to me neutral. But it never sounded rich or warm or any of those things. It just sounded neutral. And I'm like, well, here's the thing. It plays what I put into it. What else could I ask for? And she was like, it just doesn't sound, I don't think, as good as it should. So guess what? She was right. Imagine that. Your wife is right. That's the way that everything should begin, because believe you me, a lot of times, I talk to guys and they're like, yeah, my wife has much better ears to hear this stuff than I do. Guess I should listen, because she's great, and she loves this stuff too. By the way, you might want to go out and check out her too. So Melissa, the shout outs for you. So let's move in to the office real quick, and let's talk about the Outlaws. So I have moved my Weems streamer off the top of this guy so I can talk to you about the Outlaws. I'm going to talk to you about one of them. Why in the world would you need to see them both? They're identical. They're monoblocks, right? So let me tell you something. This little guy also not light. So let's take a look-see down into here. Look at that toroidal transformer. I know you can't see much maybe by that, but I will tell you, that toroidal transformer, it is bigger than the one on the Emotiva. And this is one channel. This is a monoblock amp. I'm going to try not to jerk my stuff out of the binding post here. Okay, so 5-way binding posts. Don't want these banana jacks touched. This has protection though. I will tell you, it has protection. Let me get in here just a little bit more. There we go. So we got power on and off. Got our fuse. got a power cable. It's nice that this has an earth ground over here if you're getting some noise. I'm not. It's got a trigger mode. We've got 12 volt on, depending on your trigger mechanism, or we have a thing for music, so it will detect and sense it come on. And over here, if you notice, I've got my trigger in off of my preamp, and we've got a trigger out if I just need to jump it from one to the next. I've got that down on the bottom. But look, we have both an unbalanced and balanced in with XLR. Notice I got an XLR, got it flipped up here. So that is the Outlaw 2220 mono block. Blah. So I'm going to scoot you guys out just a hair. And one of the things I want you guys to notice on this versus the other is notice how much thinner this guy is. It's actually not as tall. I could, if I wasn't worried about heat, squeeze both of these on one shelf. I ain't gonna do that. No way. Okay, just so you guys can see how the triggers work on this, and you notice my Parasound's always on, it ain't got a trigger on. I'm gonna turn this on. Watch the little LEDs on here. You're like, they look on. No, those are actually faint. So here we go. Preamp comes on. There they come. Outlaws are on. Isn't that nice? Auxiliary, there we go. Yeah, I was listening to the music a little good. I mean, you can't kill me for listening to Toto loud, right? So we'll turn it off. And the trigger's turned off. Okay, so that is that. So now, for my review of the Outlaw 2220 mono block amplifiers. Voila. So this is what I will tell you that I've learned. That A300 and these mono blocks are supposed to have the same exact power output specifications. In overall loudness, maybe. I will tell you, I have yet to push these on the number up here as hard as I did that A300, and have still achieved some of the same levels. So I didn't do anything scientific like measure this power output with a dyno. I will tell you that another website did, and each one of these guys at 4 ohms, which is the load I'm running them at, will push somewhere in the neighborhood of 384 watts per channel, less than 1% total harmonic distortion. They'll boogie. They got power. They got reserve. They got power for days. Now here is something you can't see in a spec sheet that you have to have ears to hear, and I'm just going to tell you what I hear. These Emotiva T2 towers. Cheap Audio Man, a few people have reviewed them. They're dual 8-inch carbon fiber woofers, and they get down. They got a 5¼ inch carbon fiber mid-range with phase plug. Awesome. My favorite tweeter of all time, which is an AMT and an air motion transformer is what they call it, but it's the AMT tweets. Dayton B52 Airs have them. Golden Ear generally has them. The Martin Logan lines have them. They're my favorite. There's a lot of speakers now that are using them too, but they're my favorite tweeter. I love the way they sound. They're like a folded diaphragm tweeter. I love them. They always sounded bright with the Emotiva. Although there was plenty of bass output from here, the mid bass on the speakers was always thin. It was absent. The low bass was like punch you in the face loud. But from about 80 to 300 hertz, I thought about getting a DSP and putting it in here forever. And the whole, you know, I try to keep as least processing as possible in here. I don't even use the bass and treble controls on this PT100 generally. It's like, well, maybe it's just the mastering. Maybe it's something I've got done wrong with my turntable I've got to fix up. No, let me tell you something. I don't normally use these words. These are warm. These are sweet. And boy, are they ever punchy. I mean, literally, if you notice, I've got this set up and like right behind me is my work computer. So I've got my speakers to where they clear my monitors, and I've got my work computer like there, and I sit there and I listen, and I'll listen to an album during the day. So before, it was just like, you know, casual listening. You know, you would, I would just be like, I'm gonna put on a record and listen to it. Wasn't as immersive an experience. I felt like I was kind of missing something. I felt like that maybe for whatever reason, I just got to where I didn't like to listen to music as much as I used to. Yeah, no, that's not true. There was actually something missing. I don't know if it was the amplifier failing, or if it was the amplifier just never sounding correct. Because I actually enjoyed the polks in there more half the time than I would these. And I thought, well, maybe it was the room. No. This room's much better. It's a rectangle as far as setup for actual listening. Now, here's what I picked up. Huge difference. The other thing too is these were $399 each. It's not bad. $800 for the pair. Don't know if this deal is still on. I'll look and see. I'll drop a link in the comments to it. I know at one point Outlaw had like $150 off if you bought so much. I don't know if that was just during the holiday season. That's the deal I got on these amplifiers. I ended up paying $650 plus tax and shipping for them. Considering the new Basx A2 from Emotiva is very similarly priced for a single amplifier, I was like, you know what? I like to keep it all Emotiva, but I'm gonna give the Outlaws a try. Wow, I sure am glad I did. Some of my favorite amplifiers I have ever owned. I can't say enough about them. I highly recommend them. And again, I don't normally do a whole lot of gear reviews on here with just my ears, but I will tell you guys out there, if you guys have a 4 ohm load or an 8 ohm load or something that's difficult to push that just seems like it needs that little bit of extra oomph, you will never go wrong with these amplifiers. All right, let's move back over here and we'll wrap it up. So what do y'all think about the monoblock amps? Obviously, I didn't let you hear them. So let me know what you think about the amplifier choices I've contrasted here. Maybe one of you guys have a Basx A300 and you want to just talk about it. That's great. Maybe you guys have the Outlaws and you love them. Let's talk about it. Maybe you guys have the Outlaw RR 2160 receiver and you're like, oh yeah, I didn't know they made amplifiers. We can talk about that too. So drop me a comment, like, subscribe, get notified. Let me know what's going on here. I will say in the coming videos, if you're looking for the same format to come back, you guys are not going to be disappointed. Hopefully on the horizon soon, we're going to maybe dip our toe into ultrasonic record cleaning. Maybe. Coming up, we will also definitely review the Funk Firm Isolation Bubble. That's a set of Boing turntable feet. That is a Houdini cartridge enabler, a Cobra head shell, and an Acromat, which you guys have seen reviewed, APM advanced platter mat. So that should be interesting. And we'll hook it up on the Technics and the Audio Technica LP7. Both of them works fine on either one of them. Kind of give you guys what that's going to look like. Also going to be covering how this isolation bubble behaves if you have a good cartridge like the PTG2, or if you guys have a more entry-level cartridge like maybe the ATVM95ML, which is a bonded elliptical, or maybe even a VM95E or whatnot. Good stuff will be coming up. We'll be seeing you. All right, guys. Well, until then, this is your buddy Ben coming to you from Ben's Audio Cave, and I'll see you next time.